Hi, I'm David Martone. Welcome to Cooking Time. Today we're at Valley Shepherd Sheep Creamery and Dairy Farm. We're going to be doing a tour of the farm. We're going to also witness and participate in a sheep cheese making class, and then we'll finish up with me creating some wonderful cheese dishes with some wonderful cheese right from the farm. So that's as fresh as it can get.
Sheep's milk is both nutritious and delicious, and the main ingredient in Valley Shepherd Creamery's fine cheeses. But where does the milk come from? Our story begins early in the lambing season. Lambing occurs in spring from March to May, which is the time when female sheep or ewes give birth to their lambs. After giving birth, a ewe will produce an average of 3 to 4 pounds of milk per day for 6 or 7 months. How do the ewes produce all this milk? In a word, plants. Pasture plants such as grass and clover give the ewes the energy and nutrients they need to make milk. Sheep are called grazers, animals that feed on growing grass. A single ewe can graze 5 to 7 pounds of grass and clover per day. But enough about plants and grazing. Here's how the sheep at Valley Shepherd are actually milked. First, the ewes are led from the pastures toward the main barn. Then they go to the pre-milking area, where groups of 100 ewes or more wait their turn to be milked. They line up single file and then enter the milking parlor. You know, the milking parlor at Valley Shepherd Creamery is the only one of its kind in the United States. When a position becomes available, each ewe enters the parlor where a yoke is put around her neck to keep her in place for the milking. Once the ewe is in place, the milking technician cleans the udders and attaches vacuum milk cups. The ewe's milk then flows into the milking system. You may have noticed something peculiar on the ewe's ears. These are radio tags that report information to the parlor's management system. The information includes her ID number and position on the platform. The parlor automation system also measures milk flow from each ewe. The milking lasts about 2 minutes or so. The automation system senses when each ewe's milking is done, and the vacuum milk cups drop off the udders automatically. When the ewe revolves to the end of the parlor, the yoke opens and she steps down a ramp heading back to the main barn. All the milk that has been collected is transported to a holding tank. There it will eventually be used to make one of Valley Shepherd Creamery's delicious cheeses.
Good morning and welcome to Valley Shepherd. We're a sheep dairy, which is unusual in New Jersey. There aren't many sheep dairies or cow dairies left. Unfortunately, farming's on the decline in New Jersey. But this farm was started about 3 years ago. It was the dream of my husband to have a self-sustaining, family-run farm. Look into our cheese and yogurt making room. This is where you're going to be spending most of the day.
Workable curd in here, a workable curd. And a workable curd is something you're always looking for, because a workable curd is a curd that is formed enough of a matrix. There's a matrix in there. So we look for it, and we look for it, ignore the fat layer on top. See, it's going to cut. It's a little tough to tell here today because it's got the fat layer on top. But you see that clean break, that straight line there? See? See that? I'm pulling that knife out. Look at that knife. It's clean.
It's kind of like custard.
Custardy, yeah. I can pull that knife out. You see how the nice clean way is forming at the cut here? See this nice, right there. You see the yellowish way? It's going to be a little more milky than that when I cut it now. But what I'm looking for is a pure yellow, clear way, which is this. It's not going to be because it's a soft curd. It's a soft curd. Mass, not mess. See? It's a nice clean cut, and I'm always going in the direction of the knife. I'm not cutting backwards, because if I cut backwards, I'm breaking curd. It's very gentle now. It's very gentle, and if you don't treat it right, you lose a lot. See how nice it's cutting?
So if you break it, you'll extract more whey and lose protein and fat.
If you don't break it gently, if you don't form knife cuts, if you beat it, you will lose protein and fats into your whey. You want a very gentle cut. And what's happening that, look what you're doing, you're increasing the surface area that this curd has to leak whey. The smaller you cut it, the more it's leaking or oozing or seeping.
Weeping.
Weeping, I'm not sure what the word is, but it's... Now this curd is very gentle now. Like you notice the cut was pretty good. That whey is yellowish, it is not white.
Okay.
It's about as clear as it's going to get with this type of curd.
Okay.
And it's pretty heavy mass in there. Now we're going to shrink it now. We're going to shrink it. We're going to shrink it to probably a third of its size. You can't take curd like this and press it. There'll be nothing left. You press the life out of it, there'll be nothing left, which is the reason you don't do it now. So we're going to let this go. First of all, we're going to cook it to about 36 degrees Celsius. And then we're going to let it sit at 36 and continue at that for as long as it takes. And some days it's 10 o'clock at night, and I really wish it was ready. Oh. And my wife's calling, and the leg lamb is on the table drying in the oven. Looks like a freaking frittata. It's done. But I think, the curd's not ready. There's nothing I can do. So, now I actually like to control this process a little bit. I don't like to rise up too fast. And I also like to feel the curd in my hand, because there's also pockets of warmth, and there's pockets of cold and pockets of warm in there. And if you're feeling the curd in there, you really know what you're doing. Later I will give you a stirring paddle just to mix it with. But in the beginning I really want to know that this is great separation with the curds in the whey. Really great separation. Now, if you were making cheese and all the curd be floating on top and a little bubble on it, you probably have only one choice, and it's to open your drain valve and throw it in garbage. Because what's happening is that bacteria is multiplied and made real fast, and it's made a lot of CO2 bubbles, and it's floating. It wouldn't look like this. This is a nice clean curd. So you can picture that this is going to shrink a little and get harder. And you see, some pockets are getting... Usually I look for some big pieces and snap them in half. You got to be gentle with it, though. You can't just do that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut the heating valve for a while, because if I heat it up too fast, I will actually lock the whey in the curd. instead of letting it seep out. So if you overcook it, if you let the temperature rise, go up too fast, you see I'm already at 31, 31.2, and the walls are still hot. You'll end up with a very sour curd if you lock in the curd. So you want a temperature rise of about 2 degrees every 5 minutes. But you certainly don't want it to boom, because it's easy at home in a pot to go from 28 to 36 in 2 minutes if you're really cooking the stuff. Does the famous cooking test, which applies to everything you cook in the world, tears like chicken.
So the next thing we're going to do is you're going to take a ride up to our aging cave. We have a man-made aging cave that goes 120 feet into a mountainside. We have 6 aging chambers. There's a viewing gallery that goes down the center. We're going to let you go up there by yourself for a self-guided tour. There are little signs or placards outside the rooms that tell you what's being aged in there. And then once
Alright, my name is René and I'm here from Austria. So this room is a multi-purpose room, so you can hardly any hard cheese you can get could be aged in this cave, in this room. It's not as humid as in here, a little warmer than in here. Some of them, the yellow wheels you see here, they are coated because we have to age them longer. It's going to make like a Grana cheese, Parmigiano. We coat them because they're going to be in the cave for 2 years. And otherwise they're going to shrink too much, it's going to be very small. And the second thing is we protect them from infections inside the cheese.
How do you coat them with what?
It's Dutch coating. It's made especially for cheese and it's a kind of protein coating. So it's breathable. So on the coated cheese you can't eat the rind. And on the other moldy cheeses you can eat the rind probably if you like it. I don't like it. Alright, the wheels you see here, the small ones up there, it's going to be your size wheels. These are wheels from past classes, the smaller ones.
And is there Gouda in here?
The Gouda is in here, yeah. I think it's these wheels here, the 5 were in the pretty empty shelf, and some more at the back you see. Then you see something funny here, this hanging. There's some hanging cheeses there.
Yes.
That's a cheese they make it in Italy. It's not a provolone. Provolone is aged hanging too, but this is a cheese called Cascaval, which means like aged on the back of a horse.
Saddlebags.
Saddlebags, right.
That's how it gets its name.
Okay.
And Yeah, we make them. It's like the preparation that takes 2 days to make this cheese, and then maybe at least 8 or 9 months to age it. All right, that's pretty all about the case now.
Renee,
Yeah,
the brie,
the brie.
what are they actually coated with?
The brie is not coated. It's the natural bacteria outside. It's
Yeah, it's
called.
kind of
It's
floury.
the fuzzy thing is a bacteria. It's a mold called Penicillium candidum. So it's a penicillium mold, which is white. That's why the name Candidum from Latin means white. So it's just a natural mold outside, and these molds actually turn the cheese in kind of liquid. So you get it very soft and runny.
And is the coating, the exterior edible?
Yeah, on the brie, of course.
Every time my husband asks me, are you sure this is edible? I always tell him it's
No,
flour.
on the brie, you can eat it, of course. That's the best thing about the brie.
Good, because I've been doing it all my life. Can I ask you a question?
I see you down there.
Okay. Hi, Chef David Martone here, Classic Thyme Cooking School, and we're back from Valley Shepherd Sheep Dairy and Creamery. And we're going to make some quick cheese dishes using some wonderful sheep's milk cheese and a little bit of cow's milk cheese as well. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start with a cheese that I have a bit of a hard time pronouncing. It's a Greek cheese, and it's called Kefalograviera. And we're going to make a dish called, equally as hard to pronounce, saganaki. It's very simple. We're going to take this Kefalograviera and we're going to slice it up and we're going to layer it in our dish so that we can make some wonderful, it's really just a broiled cheese dish. So we're going to just slice this up, and you can see that this is a fairly soft table cheese. This is as simple as slicing up, and we're going to put it right under the broiler. Next, we're going to get some walnuts toasting for another dish we're going to do. We're going to take our second cheese, Manori, and we're going to cube this all up and make a wonderful dish with Greek yogurt and honey and those toasted walnuts. And it's a good dish to serve with fruit as kind of an after dinner, or actually a starter. Another very soft, mild sheep's milk cheese, as well as the Kefalograviera is a sheep's milk cheese as well. You can see how very soft this is. Okay, let's put this right in our bowl. Wait for our walnuts to toast up. In the meantime, we'll start our third dish, which is going to be really an accent to another dish that you might make. We're going to take and make some Parmesan chips. We have some grated Parmesan cheese, which is a cow's milk cheese. I'm going to put one nice spoon of this in our ring mold, perhaps a tiny bit more. And we're going to just spread this out and tamp it down so that we make a nice little circle. We're going to bake this and make what's called a Parmesan chip. Don't be afraid to put a little extra on if you really like Parmesan. And don't worry about the fact that the edges unfold a little bit and feather out. This is one of those dishes where you really have to pay attention to when you're baking. Let's do one more so we'll have 3 nice chips. If you don't watch this in the oven, it can burn easily. The Parmesan cheese browns up nicely, but then goes from a brown to a burn very quickly. I love to do this for fish dishes. Okay. See, I got 2 of those to stay nice, and we'll pop this right in the oven as well. Okay. A little bit of tomato sauce that we'll use for a condiment. Back to the manori, which we're going to take some wonderful thick Greek yogurt. This is yogurt that has been strained, and you can see the consistency of it. And I'm going to mix this with the manori cheese. And then we're going to use some wonderful Greek honey. Look at how thick that is. I'm starting to smell some action in my oven, so I better take a look and see what's going on. Okay. Well, our first dish actually came pretty quickly, which is our saganaki. Let's see. What we do with that is to serve a little lemon wedge, and when you're ready to eat it, we'll just sprinkle a little bit over the top. I don't want to put it right now. The Parmesan cheese that we're using is actually a cow's milk cheese, and it's made from a low-fat milk. So it's a little bit more heart-healthy, so to speak. Let's take a look at our other items in the oven. Wonderfully toasted walnuts. Let's let those cool for a second and take a look at our flatbread. Ah, yes. Wonderful as well. Push these over a bit just to leave this sit. Our saganaki. Just switching around so I can steal back my cutting board. Juggling many hot items here. Gotta be careful not to get burned. Okay. Let's take our flatbread. Put our flatbread out. Take our toasted walnuts. Again, with the walnuts, as with the Parmesan crisps, the little chips, have to be careful not to overcook them. They go from being wonderfully golden brown to being overcooked, burnt, and get bitter very, very quickly. Take a quick look at those Parmesan chips. I'm going to need another minute. Let's raise them up to another level. Okay. Saganaki is a great dish to eat family style. We take lemon and we just squeeze a little bit of lemon on it without the pit, hopefully. And then with crusts of bread, you can get in there and see how this becomes very stringy. We'll actually take pieces of bread and scoop up this cheese with it, and you just sit around family style and eat that. It's a wonderful, wonderful dish. The same as this, you'll go in and you'll tear off pieces of this pita, and again, take little bits and just eat it like an hors d'oeuvre. It's a wonderful buffet item. And the last thing I want to do is to prepare a plate for my Parmesan crisps. What I like to do is to put a little bit of tomato sauce for those crisps. When I broil or roast a piece of fish, oftentimes I'll accompany it with a little bit of my favorite tomato sauce. Sometimes I will slice up a tomato. Get that little bit of cheese from my knife off of there. And then stick our chips right in. Let's take a look and see how they look now. Okay. Need a little spatula to get my chips off the pan. So, today we made saganaki with Kefalograviera cheese. It's a mouthful in and of itself. We garnished it with just a little bit of freshly squeezed lemon on top. We'll eat that with some crusty bread. We took our Manori cheese, which is a very mild, very soft sheep's milk cheese, as is the Kefalograviera, a sheep's milk cheese. We added some wonderful thick Greek honey. We toasted some pocketless pita bread, and we toasted some walnuts, and we used some strained thick Greek yogurt. Mix that all together, and we have this wonderful buffet food here. And then as a wonderful accompaniment to some grilled fish or chicken or roasted or broiled fish, we made a Parmesan chip and put it over a little bit of tomato sauce or tomato coulis, just with a little sliced tomato. We're just kind of making a little bit of a garnish. You could also garnish this with some broccoli or just about anything else that would go with whatever you're cooking. Today we worked with some cheeses. I'm David Martone, Executive Chef at Classic Thyme Cooking School. Thank you for watching.